Hello, everyone. And we want to thank you so much for joining us for the 2022 presentation of Thy Wills Be Done. First of all, I want everyone to thank your leadership for bringing all of these amazing experts together for you. Because the reality of it is, as surely as you live, guess what else is going to happen? You're going to pass on. And as somebody that has served in leadership in various institutions and particularly churches, I've seen the horror that can occur when there is no end of life planning. So please take advantage of this great information that your leaders thought enough of you to bring these amazing experts together to give you that information. You're getting it from the horse's mouth. You're getting the most recent, accurate information. So definitely pay attention because, again, I've seen it when the plans are not there. I've seen, you need to understand something. Funeral homes aren't as kind as they once were. They're not going for that payment plan and that type of thing these days anymore. You have to have prepared. And let's be clear, one thing, you're going to learn a lot today, but one thing I want everyone to understand, guess what? GoFundMe is not life insurance. And many people have the attitude that I don't have to prepare because when I'm gone, and it's not my issue, but it is your issue. It is your issue to not burden your family with that. I don't ever want to see again where I have seen a 10 and a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old child on the corner hustling for their mother's burial costs. That is hurtful. I pay other folks' life insurance to prevent my son from having to look at anything like that. This is important and this is worthwhile. Now, during the presentation, you can ask questions. You can type them right in and we'll see your questions and we will be able to address them adequately. Some can and will be addressed during the presentations, and there will be a Q&A at the end of this agenda. So please sit back, relax, get your pen and paper out. We will give you contact information for these great, amazing, awesome speakers, and get this information. Keep it. Friendship West has amazing resources, and you as a community as a whole, is not just about the church either. Anyone can take advantage of these resources. We don't want to see anybody go through the end of life struggle due to inappropriate or inadequate planning. So we appreciate you all for joining us, and we are going to go ahead and move forward. We are going to have a word of prayer, and I will go ahead and get that going for you. Heavenly Father, as humbly as we know how, we're coming before you, asking you, Lord, to bless this event. Bless all of the viewers, Lord. Let them glean every nugget of knowledge that you are providing them today from the experts. Lord, let the experts give all of the knowledge needed. Let the relationships develop that need to develop, Lord. And let us minimize the experience of end-of-life tragedy that is the after tragedy of inadequate end-of-life planning. Lord, we thank you. Thank you, Lord, for a church that gives such relevant information, timely, Lord. Lord, we appreciate the leadership at Friendship West. We appreciate everyone that is on this presentation, God. In your precious son's name, we pray. We love you, Lord. Amen. So now we are going to bless your spirits with a brief, honorable song.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of living. rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the road. Let me see. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stormy the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days we hold unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter. Out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our wearies, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray. Cast our feet straight from the places, our God, where we met Thee. Bless our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world we forget. Shadow beneath my hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our name, to
Woo! We thank Sister Chadney Christie for that. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I am going to bring up Pastor Fitzgerald for just a minute. Go ahead and say hello to the people. This is
Good morning,
your
good
baby.
morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Dr. Grayson. We appreciate you so much. We've had some technical issues, but we're back on. So thanks be to God. Thank you, Chadney, for that wonderful selection and all the panelists that we are about to hear. We're about to have some exciting informational, contextual knowledge. And of course, we've been doing this for several years. And so we're just excited for this program. God bless you, and let's move this train along. God bless.
All right. So
Peace.
thank you, Pastor. Thank you for the vision. Thank you for bringing this together for us. And I've already explained to them, it's a special church that would bring this level of expertise together for a webinar, and there's no charge, and you're getting the information the way you're getting it.
God
So it
bless.
is truly, truly appreciated. We appreciate it,
Absolutely.
Pastor.
God bless you, and we appreciate you so much.
All right, so now what we're going to do is have the introduction of our special speaker, and that will be done by Reverend Chirell Roseboro.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Oh, I hear you now. Let's try it again. Praise the Lord, everybody. It is a blessing to be here. We have a dynamic speaker before us, and that is none other than Kamitra Barbour. And she is going to give her testimony this morning. And the Bible says, we're overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. We know testimonies build faith. So she's been a member of Friendship West since 1985, and that's about 37 years. So there are many things that she's seen come and she's seen things go. So we're going to toss it over to her so she can give us her testimony. And that will be done by Kamitra Barbour.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you? So I want to start out with, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. Everyone wants to live, but no one wants to discuss death. That is something that we've always been known to, I don't want to talk about that. Let's not talk about it. But if you don't talk about it, what are you going to do about it? Because it's going to happen. You don't have a choice. As you were born, you're going to die. And one thing that is really hard for us as a community, we talk about living and want to do all these things in life, but then what do you do to prepare for your death? So unfortunately, about almost 2 months ago, my father passed away, and we did not prepare like I thought we had. I started the process of making sure he had a will and making sure his, affairs were in order and life insurance and all these things were in place. And of course, my father and his generation said, oh no, it's taken care of. I have that in place. But I did not make sure that he had it in place and I had the paper in hand. And that makes a big difference with saying I have it in order, but actually having it in front of me. Because once they're gone, they're gone. And you can't ask those hard questions anymore. You can't get those answers of what to do or who do I talk to or who do I call. So then you go on this journey of research, and it's consuming because you're trying to grieve and you can't grieve for the person that you love because you're taking on a full-time job of digging up everything that you thought you should have or you wish you would have had in front of you. So the one thing that I can say, if there's anything else that you get from this today, is make sure that you have your affairs in order. Make sure that you don't just talk about it, but you do, and make sure that you plan accordingly. So we had the will all written up. Everything was in place. He named everything that he, wanted and how he wanted it, but never signed it. That's interesting. So you don't sign it, it's no good. It's just a piece of paper written out, no good. And then he's gone. So what do you do? As spoken before, GoFundMe. That's something that you don't want to do. Now we're really quick, as I'm gonna just say it, African American community, to go buy a brand new Louis Vuitton purse. It's $1,800, $2,000. But then when your loved one dies, you have that purse upstairs, but no funeral arrangements. The funeral home doesn't care that you have a Louis Vuitton purse or a Gucci purse or all these things. They want their money to bury that loved one. And that's hardening because then you have to go to the public and ask them for help to bury your person. Absolutely not. That's something that you don't want to do, something that you should not want to do. So we have to work on making sure that we take care of our business and make sure that life insurance, we have this whole thing that we think life insurance is for the person that is deceased. It's really not. Life insurance is for that person, true, but it's for the person that is here that have to pick up the pieces from your life that you no longer live anymore. It's for generational wealth. It's for your children so they can have security blanket and know that they're okay. It's for the people that are grieving and need to take off work for 30, 45 days because they're devastated about your death. They're trying to move on with their life, but they can't grieve because, well, guess what? Your job gives you 3 days. In corporate America, they give you 3 to 5 days. And I'm so sorry to hear about your loved one, but then we need you to come back and produce. And your mindset is not there. You're sitting there and you're thinking, what do I need to do? How can I move forward? And you barely want to get out of bed, but you have to. Why? Because life goes on for you and that person's gone. So then you have a worry of making sure that person's buried, making sure that you can move on with your life, making sure that your children or their grandchildren are taken care of, even if you just had a simple policy of $50,000. $50,000 at a young age may cost you, $25, $30. My mother bought me a policy in 1998, and I'm still paying on that policy $25 for $50,000 of insurance. I'm not saying 50,000 is a lot, but it helps when you can't get out of bed and you don't want to go to work the next day. It'll make sure 50,000 will bury your person. But guess what? That 15, 18,000 or $20,000 that you might spend on a Birkin bag is not going to take care of your loved one. So think about those things when you go to buy unnecessary things that you don't need. Take the time to get you a policy from a reputable company, State Farm, or I'm not, working for any of these companies, but call and reach out to the people that you have your car insurance with. Ask them about life insurance. Make sure that you cover not just yourself, because of course, yes, you're going to be gone, but make sure that you can get buried in a nice, timely manner. And make sure that your family doesn't have to worry about and fuss and fight and argue about what are we going to do to take care of our loved one, because they need time to grieve and they don't have that time. They need time to be off work. They don't have that time. Why? Because you did not have the tough conversations. We can talk about everything else. Talk about death. Talk about what you need to do to prepare your family. So when you are gone, it's not just saying, oh, Kamisha was a really nice person. She was a sweet mom. She was this, she was that. She took care of her business that her family didn't have to worry about taking care of her. And they can get up and they can go on with their lives because they have time to just grieve and not have to have a million things on their plate. So that's one thing that I want to talk about today. And I pray that everyone embraces and takes this not with malice or, feel like I'm an attack mode. I'm not. I want to come and give my testimony of the hurt and the pain that it brings when you don't take care of your business. Buy the things that you need instead of the things that you want. Because one day you won't be here to make those decisions. And that will affect everyone else behind you. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'm an open book. I will answer you. Again, my name is Kamitra Doty Barber, and I appreciate you for giving me this opportunity to speak about my heartache and how you can take care of yourself while you're
Thank
living.
you so much. That was
You're more than
amazing
welcome.
what you said. And like I understand that when we have these conversations, I know that my initial opening, it could have been taken a bit roughly, but I prefer not to tiptoe through the tulips. And
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
like, I'm with you. We need to have these hard conversations.
Yes, ma'am.
We need to
Yes,
talk
ma'am.
about this because the end result, I have seen where because one family had not paid the funeral home, that when another family died, they refused to come pick up the remains unless they had started some of the work in cleaning up the remains and that type of thing.
Wow.
I
Wow.
would never want to be there.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
definitely, what you said was worthwhile. It was valuable. It was true and needed to be said. And you're right. I put one of your quotes up here. We can talk about everything else. Talk about this. Have these
Absolutely.
tough conversations. Miss Dodie Barber,
Absolutely.
thank you so much
Yes,
for
ma'am.
coming on board. Thank you for
Thank you
working
for
with us.
having me. I appreciate you.
All right. So now we're going to bring back Reverend Shirelle Roseborough. She's going to go ahead and introduce the slate of amazing speakers we have for you for the rest of the event.
Thank you, Dr. Grayson. Kamitra, that was right on point. People are dying that have never died before. And like you said, you can have a designer purse, you can have a big fine home, you can drive a nice car, and you can have a good job. But if you don't have a will or something in place, not just a will, but the will that has been put on record with the county so you can find it when death happens. We do not want to be caught with the will that you can't find. That happened to us. We know we had a will. We've all seen the will. However, when the house burned down, guess what? The will went with it. But thank all grace and praise be to God that we had insurances to cover it, and we had a pre-need plan as well. So that's a good segue into our next person, who is Miss Vicki Richardson Stewart, who is the CEO of Combined Benefit Solutions. So Vicki Richardson Stewart will come back to us and give us more information. The second person on our panel is Miss Alexia Barber, who is the principal attorney and founder of the law office of Alexia Barber PLLC, and an estate planning, probate, and crisis management practice in Box Spring, Texas. Our next panelist is I'm going to play with his title, the right, not Reverend, but the right Dallas County tax assessor. Fitzgerald, if it would been all right, I'd have said Honorable John R. Ains, PCC, CTA, but the right Reverend of Dallas County tax assessors tax assessor collector. And as you are aware, many of us have gotten those tax forms in our mail, and we say, oh my God. So, but we are grateful to have him with us today. And along with him is Miss Peggy McCormick, who is the PCC CTA and who has served as chief deputy of the Dallas County Tax Office for the past 3.5 years. The next panelist is Patrick Bullock, who is the expert on hospice with Heart to Heart Hospice of Dallas, who has served the underserved community, serving senior centers, multi-purpose centers, and civic and over 185 community churches. Our next person on the panel will be Marcia Nickerson of DFW National Cemetery. The next person on the panel will be Laura Land, who is represented by Bertha Hurls, a family service counselor with Laura Land Funeral Homes and Memorial Park. Bertha said, and I quote, "I have had the pleasure of working with Dignity Memorial for the last 13 years. So we will have her, and along with her will be Miss Sharma McBay, who is the sales manager for Laura Land Funeral Homes and Memorial Park, and Mr. Christopher L. Jordan, funeral director and embalmer with Laura Land Funeral Home. Along with Evergreen Funeral Home representative will be on our panel, and Golden Gate Funeral Home, Mr. John Beckwith. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our panel a round of applause, and we'll start with Miss Vicki Stewart Richardson and go in the order in which I've called.
Well, hello, good morning, everyone. I am just so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Pastor Fitzgerald, for the opportunity to be a part of this great presentation and seminar. Once again, thank you, Dr. Grayson, for all you do. And of course, Reverend Cheryl Roseborough, thank you for the opportunity of the introduction for me. Now, I can say that I'm going to be very short because Sister Kamitra Barber, you said it all. I mean, it is so important. The information that you gave, I said I just need to just introduce myself and then just go on about my business. So I want to briefly say my name is Vicki Richardson Stewart again, and I am the CEO and president of Premier Funeral Consulting and CBS Insurance Services, LLC. So I want to start out, normally I talk about the purpose of why pre-need is so important and things like that. But one of the things I want to address is why pre-need. A lot of the families ask, I have insurance, so what do I need pre-need for? So I just want to briefly say the purpose of pre-need, and Kamitra Barber said it earlier, is not for like life insurance is just designed to leave for your loved ones, for those that are left behind, leaving a legacy. But what pre-need does is that it leaves your family, it leaves your family with the dignity of not having to make arrangements or collect monies and do the things that you don't want to do or put other people in your business. Pre-need helps you to actually set the monies aside for your funeral. You're actually putting everything in place, not leaving your loved one to have to make decisions while they're grieving. Pre-need is so important that when everything else is done and you've been the best person in the world, but people remember the end. And the end is that if you didn't have things in place, that with all you had done and all you had given and all you contributed to, you had one thing that you didn't do, and that's prepare for the inevitable, and that is death. So when your family is faced with having to make decisions for you, and you could even have, say, minimal life insurance or something like that, okay? So, but at the end, the family is still faced with having to make decisions that you could have made while you were living. What color casket? Did I get the right color? Would she have wanted silver instead of white? So after it's all said and done, when the loved one set aside and think about what they've done, what if she didn't want to be cremated and she wanted to be buried, or he wanted to be buried? Well, guess what? your loved one is going to carry that with them for the rest of their life. Did they do the right thing? So that's one of the reasons why pre-need is so, so important, because you're doing it and all they have to do is set the day, the time, and notify family members of when the services is going to be. Most any funeral director can tell you that nobody walks into an arrangement alone. It's always going to be several people. They call it the support factor. Okay. You got a whole bunch of folks that are coming in to help you make arrangements, but nobody is talking about money. They're just talking about what you should do. This eliminates that, because when everybody's sitting at the table, the funeral director doesn't have to say who's going to pay for this, and then everybody stops and turn around and look at you. Basically, it's all done. Only thing we need to do is for you to sign the paperwork saying yes, you agree to everything that she has done, and then set the date and the time of the service. That's basically it, because all provisions have been set. There's nothing for the family to have to really, unless they want to do something extra themselves, that's on them. But with a pre-need, everything is set. The cost was frozen. You don't have to come out of pocket with anything. It's just so much easier on your loved ones, on your family. You know, none of us know the day, time, or hour of when or we're going to leave this place. So it's so important that you actually take the time to sit down with someone and talk about prearranged funeral plan. Now, it doesn't have to be me. It could be anyone, anybody professional in this industry that can actually help you make arrangements. Talk about it. Ask the questions. The most important thing is a lot of people today still don't know about the funded plan. Okay. So when you actually sit down and make arrangements, first of all, you lock in the cost at today's price. Okay. So that means that price would never go up. Okay. It's locked in with that particular funeral home of your choice. And you will never have to worry about your family coming to the funeral home and the funeral home saying, well, you know, our price was this amount 15 years ago, but today now it's this amount. And so you need to come out of pocket with the additional money, not with a pre-funded funeral plan. Okay. So briefly, I want to let you know that all pre-needs are regulated. They're regulated by the Texas Department of Banking. So when a funeral home sets up a pre-need arrangement with you, you are given a form that tells you who you would need to contact if you had a problem with a pre-need that you purchased years ago. Okay. So you have the watchers that are being watched. Okay. So you have the funeral home, you have the insurance company, and then you have the Texas Department of Banking. They are all watching to make sure all the information that you provided for your funeral service goes according to your plan. Okay. So when you're freezing the cost. I did mine when I was 32 years old. I paid it off when I was 37. Today, I'm still here and my plan remains the same. It's so important that you don't leave the burden on your family like this. We know about the GoFundMe. It's been said a couple of times earlier. The GoFundMe, again, is not insurance. It's not money set aside waiting for you to pass so that it could be given to your family. And then there's so many things that are involved, vehicles that are involved with GoFundMe. You'll literally be shocked when you think that you're going to get this amount of money that whoever contributes, and then you find out that you're not. So be sure to put everything in place in writing. The pre-planning factor is just the beginning, getting ready for the end. But there are so many things that are in between. I always make the statement when I'm talking to some of my families is that parents know their children. I know my son. My son is 31 years old. And when I see him, he's always wearing something like some fluorescent colors, like his tennis shoes and things like that. And so I'm so glad that I did my prearranged funeral plan myself, because to see him in some lime colored tennis shoes, my vision is that my casket would be the same color. Okay. So I don't want that to happen. I always say that I want to leave the way I lived. And I think with any family member or any person that's looking at pre-planning or thinking about what's the next stage when I retire, um, do I have all these things that are in place? Pre-planning is a part of that bucket list that you should have when you're getting ready to retire. You're thinking about retirement. It's you just cannot go wrong. Pre-need, you have a designated time that is paid for. You have a choice of 3, 5, 7, or 10 years, or you could just pay it in full where you get a discount. And then once that's done, it's just sits there until the need occurs. Insurance is a great vehicle, but again, that vehicle is designed to leave that to your loved ones, to leave a legacy, to pass something on, to help them to continue to move forward in life. So when you think about insurance, that's the way you should be thinking about insurance, not insurance to bury you. Because if you do that, then you're looking at a situation where you're leaving somebody to make decisions again for you, because the insurance company is sending them that money and said, okay, it's in your hands. But if you that money is put in somebody's hands that is 6 months behind on their house note and is getting ready to be foreclosed, and they have a choice of taking that $10,000 and stopping their house from being foreclosed, or the $10,000 to pay for your funeral service. Just think about that. So I'm going to get off here and pass this baton on to attorney Alexa Barber, because I know in between making plans for your funeral and then when death occurs, there's a whole lot in between that. It's a part of that dash. And I know that she's going to cover that and give you some real good information. So, but in order to, if you have any questions about pre-planning, please feel free to contact me. I give free consultations when it comes to pre-planning. You can contact me at CB Solutions Plus is my email.
It's running across the bottom.
Okay, great. Okay. So at this point, thank you so much.
But I want to clarify a few points you made.
Okay.
Now, the benefit of the pre-need is such a life insurance can be used to continue your descendants, your legacy's lives.
Yes.
Pre-need takes you paying for those final arrangements, and it doesn't have to come out of that life insurance. And oftentimes, isn't pre-need more cost effective?
Yes, it is, most definitely. Because the funeral homes are running discounted packages that are normally not advertised. So if you came into the funeral home and talked to the counselor, they can give you some discounted packages that may be available, and you would be surprised. So don't be afraid to ask.
All right, we will not be afraid to ask, because we go everywhere else and ask for a discount. We can do it here too.
Right.
All right, so thank you so much for this wonderful presentation, and I will also be reaching out to you for my pre-need as well. So thank you. We are going to continue on with the amazing attorney Alexia Barber. Attorney Barber, you're muted.
Thank you. Good morning. I am attorney Alexia Barber, the principal attorney of the law office of Alexia Barber. I'm very excited to be here with you. I am attempting to pull up a presentation. Let's see. Dr. Grayson, do you have access to that presentation?
I do. Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you. It looks like StreamYard wants me to take several steps to access. So thank you so much for your assistance.
Okay, you are more than welcome. Let me get that.
And while Dr. Grayson is pulling up that presentation, just wanted to share a little bit of information regarding the estate planning process. So completely aside from pre-needs planning and life insurance, which takes care of your family and what's to come thereafter, there is a process known as estate planning and then probate regarding your will and your final decisions related to your life. Particularly within the last several years of the COVID-19 pandemic, it has created a greater need for estate planning. As many of you can remember, when we were in the thick of the pandemic, we were not allowed to have access to our loved ones in different hospitals, even for routine hospitalizations or routine surgeries that were planned and maybe outpatient. You had to drop your loved one off at the hospital and then pick them back up. There are estate planning tools that are in place that allow you to be able to have access to information to your loved ones, and then also access to being able to make decisions for your loved one if they are unable to make decisions because of medical issues or incapacity. And so when we talk about estate planning, a lot of people just assume a will and nothing else. But it's so much more than just a will. A lot of times we have individuals that have a preconceived notion about the estate planning process generally. And so I prepared a couple of questions. I know it's Saturday morning, but I wanted to go ahead and hop right into some of the common misconceptions of estate planning and to see just where we are in regards to our knowledge. So feel free to drop your answers in the chat. And let's go ahead with the first question. And again, all of these are true and false. So you can type in a T or an F, and I'll give you a few moments with each question. True or false? I don't need a will because I do not own anything of real value. True or false? Of course, the answer to that is false. And an obvious reason, a lot of people make the assumption that I just have an apartment and some clothing and maybe $50 in a bank account. I don't need a will. But the reality is we need wills because we don't know how or when we will pass away. And if your estate is owed money because of a liability, for instance, if you were to pass away in a car accident, right? And there's someone that is responsible for your death, there's likely going to be some type of settlement, and then that's money owed to your estate. And so without a will, you don't have anyone that is set up to receive that fund as a designation. So then it's left based on your familial relations. The state of Texas basically looks at who your relatives are, your blood relatives. So if you have a step parent or if you have someone that is like a sister to you that you would have wanted to receive these funds and they're not a blood relative, they are going to be prevented from receiving access to these funds that are a part of your estate. All right, here goes the next question. True or false? If something happens to me, my next of kin, whether that's your spouse, your parent, your child, or even a brother or sister, they can make decisions for me without having any legal documents in place. True or false? All right, of course, this one is also false. So your parent or your loved one may have limited situations where they can make decisions for you. But if there comes a time where they need to make decisions for your health, end of life decisions, they will be prevented from making those decisions without having legal documents in place. And a lot of people think that their next of kin can make these decisions, but without a medical power of attorney, an advance directive, or what's called a statutory durable power of attorney, which is a financial power of attorney, your family members are going to be very limited and in a lot of situations restricted from making decisions on your behalf. Number 3, here we go. If I need to go to a nursing home, they will take my house and all my money. True or false? All right, this one can also be false if you do not complete your estate planning process. If you go through the estate planning process, there are options for your assets to be protected and sheltered through the estate planning process by different trusts. And there are some deed options for you to be ensured that your largest asset, which is usually your home, is sheltered from Medicaid or government overreach. And so there are options in place. And I hear that one a lot. So people just decide to avoid the process altogether when they can plan and prepare for those assets. And number 4, to provide for my disabled child, I should just leave money to my other children or my loved ones for them. And of course, this one is also false. There's no guarantee that a disabled child will receive those funds. You want to ensure that you leave that money for a special needs child or loved one in a testamentary trust or a special needs trust, and an attorney can assist you with that. And so, Dr. Grayson, if you would go ahead and pull up the presentation and proceed to the next few slides for me. Okay, so very briefly, I want to touch on probate versus non-probate assets. And so there are some assets that will have to go through the probate process, including real estate that's in your name, any type of personal property you own, such as clothing, shoes, and furniture, bank accounts that are solely in your name and that you don't have a beneficiary name. And then you see the other information that's listed there. And so these are considered probate assets that have to go through a probate process, which is why it's important for you to have a will. Without a will, the process for your family to get access to those bank accounts or life insurance policies where you don't have anyone named as a beneficiary, it is extensive, expensive, and it can be somewhat complicated. Now, alternatively, non-probate assets are anything that are not probate assets. And so for our next slide, the non-probate assets are items that are included in your estate for a contract, such as bank accounts where you have a transferred on death beneficiary or a paid on death beneficiary, and then your life insurance proceeds, such as a 401k or 403b in your employee benefit plans. So these are the assets that if you have a contractual agreement, those go outside of the probate process. Those don't have to be included in a will because they automatically go to whomever you've named as your beneficiary. And so if you could go ahead to our next slide, we're going to talk about very quickly some of the estate planning tools that are available. As you see there, there's wills and trusts, and then there's other estate planning tools that are available for you. I really encourage you to reach out to an estate planning attorney because a lot of the things that we've heard today can be avoided with a quick consultation and going through what can be a very streamlined and simple process for you and your family. And so, particularly with a lot of these different documents, they can shelter your assets so you can qualify for Medicaid. They can ensure that if you need to have someone that is in charge of making decisions regarding your funeral arrangements, a 2-page document can eliminate a lot of arguing that your family may have after you pass away. And so for those who are interested, take a screen grab of those particular documents that are listed here, and please reach out to an estate planning attorney to discuss these. I will give this brief caveat. I encourage you not to try to go through this process by yourself. I have a lot of individuals that will come to me and their loved ones have passed away and they have found wills online and these wills are not validly executed. And then the families find that they're having to spend additional funds because they just didn't take the time to have an attorney prepare those documents. And if you'll go ahead and proceed with our next slide. Here are some homework and action items that I will leave with you. And again, if you have an opportunity to take a screen grab here, I encourage you to complete these items because I'm sure some of you may be feeling a little overwhelmed by this presentation and the information you're receiving. And you're saying, I'm not prepared. I can't go tomorrow. I don't have my affairs in order. Well, here are a few things that you can do to go ahead and make sure that you're taking the right steps. So, of course, confirm your beneficiary designations on your life insurance and your retirement accounts, and then also your bank accounts and your credit union accounts. If you don't have anyone named as your beneficiary on these types of accounts, your family will have to go through the probate process. And to be clear, it's different for someone having a bank account where there's a joint account holder. That does not guarantee that that joint account holder is your paid on death or transfer on death beneficiary. So they still may have to go through the process of probate if they do not have a contractual agreement with your financial institution listing them as the paid on death beneficiary to get those funds in your bank account. I also encourage you to check your deeds and your land records to make sure that property is in the correct names. I'll have family members reach out to me all the time needing to get deeds updated because they'll have a loved one that passed away 15 or 20 years ago, and they're having to get these deeds updated because they're wanting to sell the home. If that loved one's estate was never probated, they may have to go through the probate process just to be able to have the ability to sell this land. And then lastly, schedule an appointment with an attorney to discuss and establish your estate plan. And as Mrs. Dodie Barber said, when you go through the estate planning process, make sure that you complete it in its entirety. I have many individuals that will reach out to me to the estate planning process. They'll go through the process, but they won't actually finish the process. And it just causes their family a lot of heartache when the time comes because their family will believe that their affairs are in order. I thank you so much for your time. I thank you for the opportunity to serve through giving information at Friendship West. This is my church home, and any opportunity that I have to share with our church family on how to be prepared for what's to come, it's an honor and a privilege. And so I will go ahead and pass the opportunity to share with you to Mr. John R. Ains, the Dallas County Tax Assessor.
Good morning. Thank you, Attorney Barber and Ms. Richardson Stewart. Great information this morning. Let me just take the opportunity to thank Friendship West for putting this on every year. Thy Wills Be Done seminar is something I look forward to speaking at every single year. Dr. Grayson, thank you for your leadership. Pastor Fitzgerald and Reverend Roseborough, it's always an honor to be present with you. And I don't want to leave out Ms. Una Howard, who organizes everything and gets us all together. So thank you very much. I want to be very brief this morning. Death and taxes, right? We hear it all the time. Be prepared. We're all going to die and we all have to pay taxes. I don't want to talk about paying taxes this morning. I want to talk about some of the things that you can do to make sure that you're prepared. One of those things is making sure that the proper deed is on your property. You may have inherited a piece of property and never put it in your name. It doesn't do your relatives any good if you've got a piece of property that you got from an aunt or a grandparent and it's not even in your name. So make sure that the property that you believe that you own is actually in your name. One of the other things you can do is when you do have that property in your name, you can make sure that you are getting the proper exemptions on that property. So make sure that that property is in your name and you're getting the proper exemptions. You can get a homestead exemption, which will reduce your taxes. You can get an over 65 or a disabled exemption if you qualify for those, which will reduce your taxes. We also have several different kind of payment plans to pay in your taxes. So don't ignore your taxes. The worst thing you can do is ignore your taxes. If you decide to defer your taxes, which is an option after 65 or with a qualified disabled exemption, that's a great plan that you can do. You can defer those taxes. But remember, deferring your taxes doesn't mean they go away. There's still penalties that apply, and those taxes are still there. So if you decide to defer your taxes, tell your loved ones about that. I don't know how many times that I can count where somebody's come in and they've said, I had no idea. That my mom or my dad deferred their taxes, and now we owe $80,000 in taxes on their home. Many times your loved ones will help you pay those taxes if you decide to defer them. Listen, the tax office isn't trying to make sure that you can't pay for your medicine or you can't, buy groceries or put gas in your car. At the end of the day, those things are very, very important. And so we want to make sure that you can still live a quality of life. So there's options for you to either defer, to get exemptions, or to get on some kind of payment plan for your taxes. And one last thing I want to do before I close, actually two things real quick. Don't forget about your vehicles. So many times we've been given a car, somebody's let us borrow a car, and then we inherit the car, right? Make sure that that car title is in your name, or make sure that you have made a plan that in your will, those vehicles are left to somebody so that that can be executed properly. It's so important. There's so many people out there that are driving cars that aren't in their name, and it's difficult if they get in an accident or a situation where they need to dispose of that car and they don't have the proper title to do so. So there's options to do that too. And the last thing I want to say is if you do have a will, if you visited with somebody like Attorney Barber who can help you set up a life estate, who can help you make these plans, file that will on record with Dallas County. My good friend John Warren's the county clerk. For only $25, you can file that will on record with Dallas County. We don't want a situation where your house burns down and the only will you had is gone. Or for God forbid, you've given that will to a loved one and they've misplaced it. At the end of the day, let's make sure that that will is on record. As always, it's an honor to be with you this morning. Thank you for what you do, Friendship West, for the community. And there's anything that I can help you do, we're always of service at the Dallas County Tax Office.
Thank you so much. Now, I need to stress something, because particularly in South Dallas, we are getting hit hard with this very issue. We do not have wills in place. And so, yes, Big Mama has passed on and I'm still living in the house, but that house is still in Big Mama's names. You are setting yourself up to lose that house to an investor who will outwit you and get that house out from under you. We have got to handle this business. You've got to have a will. Now, let's talk about that. Filing the will is only $25. And I know John Warren too. He is amazing. He has come here to Dixon Circle a few times to help with this. We have amazing attorneys that will help you. You can do a will. You've got to file it, because again, I can write your will and I can sign it and say it's yours and I'll be living in your house. So you've got to handle your business. This is very important. And again, for your county tax assessor to come and share this with you speaks volumes of who he is and his concern for his constituency. So thank you so much. I am going to, just for a minute here, also want to stress to everybody, Friendship West has a legacy toolkit available under the bereavement tab. And I can speak to this directly because I have used it. It gives you a booklet. You write out your service. I even put what I'm going to wear. Y'all gonna put me in my Colin Kaepernick jersey. I'm going out like that. And then you tell who you want to speak and sing and everything. And then your arrangements, what you want done with your remains. But it is best. You need a few end-of-life documents. And again, please reach out to attorney Alexis Barber for that. Like she said, and I believe a few of the speakers have also said, you know, if I'm sick in the hospital, I automatically think that my son or some close family member has a right to even be told what's going on with me. That's a HIPAA violation. No, you have to have those records in place. An executor. One key thing Attorney Barber addressed was if you have a special needs child, you think you can leave an insurance policy to somebody and there's nothing forcing them to apply those funds to your child's life. And you think you can trust people, and when you're gone, they might come out of a bag on you. So please take heed to all of this information. The Dallas County Tax Office information is there. You've got the website and the phone number to call. And again, you have the instructions to access the Friendship West Legacy Toolkit. So now we will continue on with the next speaker. We are going to hear from is Mr. Patrick Bullocks. All right, and
are we ready to go?
You are ready to go.
Well, hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Friendship West Baptist Church. Once again, I'm ecstatic about being a part of this ministry. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Grayson, my frat brother, my brother indeed, Mr. Reverend Fitzgerald, and I'm honored to be on this awesome panelist that I'm with today. Well, it's me again, your community hospice advocate, Patrick Bullocks. I'm excited to be here for you. Yes, the big elephant in the room, death. One thing about it, and they've stated it, the individuals have stated this prior to me, it's coming. We're all going to come to this point where we're going to get called home. But what I love about God on this side of heaven is that he gives us choices. And choices how we go through our particular journey before we are called upon. Today, I want to talk to you all about this form of care that I love to talk about, this service. And this word that oftentimes we hear that we are afraid to speak upon when we should be embracing it. And that's that word hospice care. And I always like to talk to folks and reach out to the community and get their feedback and understand what is their take on that word hospice. And oftentimes when I hear that word or when I share that word, a lot of folks start to cringe. It's like, oh no, I don't want to talk about that. And I always tell folks, it's not a bad word. It's an awesome word. Remember, I told you this is one of these form of care that we have a choice now. So when I ask that word, what is hospice to you? First thing I hear is death, or that's a place where you go and die. Well, I'm here to share with you today that hospice is not the end. It's actually the beginning. Matter of fact, let me explain to you what hospice really is. It's a form of care. It's a form of care that allows our loved ones who have been deemed with a terminal illness transition into what we call a wonderful journey. A wonderful journey, that's what it is. So today, we're going to talk about some of the features and benefits about hospice care, why you should embrace it instead of running from it. And going to also talk to you about what makes you appropriate to utilize such benefit. So, what is hospice? Well, first of all, as I stated, it's a form of care. Now, when I reach out to folks, they always say, well, Brother Bullock, how do you be appropriate for hospice? Well, first of all, in order to be appropriate for hospice care, you have to have some type of terminal illness. Now, when we say terminal illness, what's the first thing we think of? Cancer. Yes, cancer is one of the diagnoses that allows you to utilize this benefit. Now, what are some of these other diagnoses that will allow us? Well, if your loved one has Alzheimer's or dementia in the late stages, or ALS, cancer, or some type of cardiopulmonary condition, HIV, a liver disease, Parkinson, end-stage renal, or a loved one had a stroke or have been in comas. Those are some of the diagnoses that allows you to benefit from this form of care. Now, the great thing about this form of care is that if you are currently enduring any of those diagnoses that I told you about, hospice will take care of you wherever you may be at this time, whether it be at the hospital or a nursing facility. But I would say 95% of our loved ones would prefer to get any type of additional care where? At home. And that's where hospice can take care of your loved ones, at facility, hospital, or at home. So what I want to do right now is I want to paint the picture. I don't have a whole lot of time to go into greater depth, so I'm giving you a small snap. So your loved one has a terminal prognosis, either one of those diagnoses that I've shared with. Now, when you find out that your loved one has a terminal illness, we as a provider, we ask that it is at that time you go to your physician and ask your physician if you might be appropriate for the use of the benefits behind hospice care. Because oftentimes we look at that, again, at hospice as the very, very last measurement of utilization. And that's where we got that mindset of that when you get on hospice, that's the end. Because we, people of color, we wait to the very end when we have the opportunity to address and take advantage of some of the benefits of which hospice has to offer in the early stages. Because we're all human. If you see something that's patterned all the time, guess what? That's what we tend to believe. So I'm here to tell you that it does not mean the end. Matter of fact, we've had loved ones that have been on hospice when the physician has stated that they only have a few weeks or 6 months left to live past that benchmark. Some have been on hospice for a year, 2 years, and some have even gotten a little bit better and have come off of hospice. We call it graduation. But the great thing about this form of care, say if your loved ones are fortunate to graduate off this service, and then all of a sudden, a couple of days later or 2 weeks later, they tend to spiral down or decline again. Guess what? You just get right back on this form of care. This service is a wonderful safety net, as we often say. So you've already figured out that you do have a terminal illness. You've gone to your primary physician and you've asked that question, hey, am I appropriate for hospice or not? He or she's going to say yes or no. Now, if they say yes, then they might provide you a couple of hospice providers as an option. I always say interview as many hospice providers as you should, at least 2 to 3, because not every hospice provider can take care of your loved one the way you're asking for. Okay? Now, talking about taking care of your loved ones. Again, I'm going kind of fast. I know we as people want to take care of our loved ones. We don't trust sometimes the health field or folk that come into your house or come in to your loved ones to take care of them. But here's that time right now where we want to explain how you can have more trust with the health. First of all, we always try to take care of our loved ones on our own. But let's be honest, sometimes it's kind of hard. And oftentimes we don't have either the time to take care of our loved ones or the expertise to deal with whatever they're going through at that particular time. So now with hospice, you have a team, an interdisciplinary team that consists of a medical director, a physician, a nurse, aides, social worker, a chaplain, volunteers, and a team manager. That's about 8 folks that is there to work on your behalf, to take care and take that burden off your shoulder. So now you don't get stressed out on who's going to come in and take care of mom or pops. They're there to make sure that it will allow you time, you as the caregiver, to love on your loved one for however long God has for them on this side of heaven. That's what we're asking for. While we get through this emotional journey, we just want to know and have the peace of mind knowing that our loved ones will get the adequate care that he or she deserves. Okay, so a lot of people say, well, Brother Bullock, that sounds great, but it sounds like a lot of money. Let me share with you. Through this benefit, if you have Medicare or Medicaid or some other form of insurance, this is covered at 100%. At 100%. Doesn't cost you no out-of-pocket cost. Also, that includes any type of medication that's pertaining to your loved one's illness or equipment that he or she needs pertaining to their illness as well. So I just, again, wanted to give you that brief synopsis about this form of care. I wish I had more time, but I just gave you a brief one. But again, my name is Patrick Bullocks with Heart to Heart Hospice. You can reach me at 469-446-6860.
What was that number again?
469-446-6860. Heart to Heart Hospice.
All right. So thank you. And I got to say, I'm speaking from experience on this one. My mother did that. You are Absolutely. You really, to me, have brought a level of peace on this one, because you said it's a beautiful beginning. And it is. It was beautiful for my mom because she knew what was happening,
Yes.
and she was okay with it. And you're right. That coverage, it's there. People came to her home. My mom, she was able to pass away in the beautiful home that she had curated for 20 years, in the bed that she chose. And,
Yes.
and it was meaningful, and it was with dignity. So you
Yes.
are 110% correct, based on my experience, that yes, it can be a beautiful beginning, because although we like to stop it, you can't stop the inevitable. And
Exactly.
the best thing to do, and what we did, was accept it and made it a pleasurable journey for her. And so
Yes.
yes, I totally agree. But I got something else I need to say, and it's a little off task, but it's to my understanding. First, you're a fellow member of the Divine Nine, Kappa Alpha Psi. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta. And
All right.
secondly, from what I understand, it's your birthday. It's your
Oh, yeah.
birthday. Happy birthday. And thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for taking the time on your birthday to
I
share
told
this
you.
information with us.
Thank you. I told you I'm very passionate about this
I see that
ministry.
you are. And everybody, please take note of his number. It is in the chat. Call him. These are the questions that we need to have answered, especially when it comes to hospice, because like he said, you think it costs a lot, but it's something you get with Medicaid and Medicare.
You're
Correct?
entitled to it. Exactly.
You're going to have one or the other. And additionally, like I have my insurance through the marketplace, I have this too.
Yes.
So this is something that's a common benefit. You just need to know what it is. All right. So thank you so much. And again, happy birthday to you. Go enjoy the rest of your birthday. And
Thank you very
for taking
much.
the time. So next, we're going to go with Miss Marcia Nickerson.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Friendship West, thank you for having me. Well, I work with the Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about the benefits that are afforded to veterans, their spouses, as well as dependent children. I'm also a funeral director, so I know a few of the panelists earlier were speaking about experiences they've had with planning funerals and how expensive they can be. I know as a funeral director, a lot of families would often opt for cremations because they were cheaper. They didn't have to pay for plots, and they would hold on to the cremains because they couldn't afford to pay for spaces. Well, with the Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery, the families only have to worry about paying for the funeral cost for their loved one. And we, because of their service and sacrifice, they don't have to pay for any of the cemetery costs. We cover the space, the grave liner, the headstones, and that's for the veteran, their spouse, their children up to the age of 21. If their children are still in school, up to the age of 23. We also cover their children if they are what we call dependent. So if they have any type of illnesses or injuries that make them unable to care for themselves, we also cover spaces for them. I'm also going to give a phone number for the VA Benefits Administration, which is 1-800-827-1000. And that's 1-800-827-1000. Now, the Veterans Benefits Administration, they are a very helpful entity for all of the veterans' families to help with spousal benefits. So once the veteran passes away, the spouses are entitled to a benefit of a monthly allowance, as well as their children under the age of 18. So they also help with burial reimbursement benefits. So if a veteran passes away, let's say in a VA facility or of a VA related illness or injury, they're entitled to burial reimbursement benefits. So the VBA, the Veteran Benefits Administration, at the number that's listed, will be able to assist the families in filing claims so that they can be reimbursed for any transportation costs they may have incurred through the funeral expenses. And some of they may even be reimbursed for a portion of the costs for the funeral expenses that they paid. So transportation and some of the funeral costs, not for all of it, but maybe a portion of it. The Dallas-Fort Worth Cemetery has been open since May of 2000. We have roughly over 70,000 people interred there, and we're still expanding. We have over 600 acres. It's a great service for anyone that is served, and to their spouses and their children. I love working there. I love serving the veterans. If you have any questions, you can reach our office. The number's 214-467-3374. Cemeteries open every day from sunrise to sunset. We have a Memorial Day program that's going to be coming. It's a great way to honor our veterans that have gone before us. We also have a number of other benefits that are afforded. Again, call the Veterans Benefits Administration. Any one of their operators can help you. Our office can help you. We also have the National Archives website. It is www.archives.com. If you do need to get access to your DD-214, we do know a lot of veterans' family members, when they need to do burials, they don't have access to the DD-214. Archives website is where you can get your military records. So that is another tool for a lot of the veterans' families. So the Archives website. So that concludes my portion. Thank you for having me again, Friendship West. If you have any questions, you can call the National Cemetery, the Veterans Benefits Administration. All of us are here to help the veterans, their families. We're here to serve.
Thank you so much. Can you repeat the number to your office again?
Yes, ma'am. It is 214-467-3374.
And what's your particular office is the?
It's the Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery. That's the main number, and it goes to everyone. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So basically what we're saying then is, if you are a veteran, then this is the number you would call regarding your entitlement. You've earned this.
Yes.
For your burial. So
yes,
please
ma'am.
take advantage of this, because I'm telling you, somebody that's a licensed agent, it hurts me to my heart when they call in and they don't know what they're entitled to. And then here you are, you're of a seasoned age trying to buy life insurance. It's going to be exceptionally expensive. Take advantage of the
Correct.
benefits that you earned. And I would say, well, this is the quote for the policy, but please go check here to ensure that you don't have anything here that would definitely be more cost effective. Now, I do have a question I want to ask you that I'm here.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, it's to my understanding that if I'm a veteran and I get an honorable discharge from the military, do I have to sign up for these benefits in an allocated amount of time, or can I come back 20 years and say I was a veteran? Hey.
Yes, ma'am. There is no amount of time. I mean, we have people that have held on to cremated remains, or have a family member that was buried back in the 60s or 70s, and they decide, hey, we didn't know your cemetery existed. Can we, bring mom or dad over now? Absolutely fine. Okay. Absolutely fine.
And so they get an amount of life insurance and so forth as well, or not?
So we don't deal with anything dealing with finances. This is a free chart. Yeah, this is at no cost to them. This is solely off of their sacrifice that they gave. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So all costs will be through the funeral home.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking your time out of your Saturday to bless us with this necessary and very valuable knowledge. So now we are going to hear from Laurelyn.
Well, good evening. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bertha Pearls, and I come to bring you information about the cemetery. And want to thank Friendship West Baptist Church for putting on this awesome seminar. I come to you with 13 years of experience, so I welcome any questions that you may have about the cemetery. With Laura Land Memorial Park, we have over 325 acres of land. We have some brand new developments that we would love for you to come out and see. One is called Serenity. That's a new park that is opening up. And we just opened another one that's called Mercy. And I would love the opportunity to show you and give you information about this. Now, I want to say this. It has been some wonderful information that has been shared about pre-planning on the funeral side. But another thing is on the cemetery side. And I'm going to tell you a short story. I have known families who have pre-planned on the funeral side. However, when the matriarch or the patriarch passes on, the children think, oh, I remember mom and dad saying, we have everything covered. Unfortunately, they will walk into the funeral home to make arrangements. And yes, we can see that you do have funeral, but no one did anything about the cemetery. Because a lot of times people do things in stages. They'll take care of one or the other. And then as time goes on, they will forget about it. So my job today is to inform you about making sure everything is in order. I like to tell families, just set an appointment. Come into the funeral home. Let us look at all your paperwork to be able to share with you what you have. So another big thing that's trending now is cremation. Cremation is really on the rise. And you know what? We're ready for that as well. We have a wonderful cremation garden that is available. I would love the opportunity to be able to share with you what we have as far as the cremation garden and give you some different options so that you don't have to have your loved one sitting on the mantle if that is not your choice. But remember, if your loved one is on the mantle, remember, as years go by, you want to make sure that you have a final resting place. So here at Laurelland, we can do a traditional burial with cremated remains. I've had people come in and they say, you know what, my husband wants to be traditionally buried, but I want to be cremated. Those options are still available. You can both be traditionally buried and with the cremations added. So please don't think there's nothing that we can do for cremations because we have a lot of different things that can be done. Another thing that I want you to know is that we have different price points. So we can service each and every family with our many different price points. I always tell families, you owe it to yourself to come and take a tour. Tours cost you nothing, but you gain a lot of information, valuable information, so that when that time comes, you are not in a position where you make a decision and 6 months to a year later, you think, you know, if I had a little bit more time, I would have done something differently. So again, call, come by, ask for Bertha. I would love to give you a tour and show you everything that we have to offer. Another thing we have to offer is the opening and closing. A lot of times people will have their property, but they didn't do the opening and closing. Remember, there are so many different parts to pre-planning. And again, people do it in stages. And often some stages are missed. And then when families come in, sometimes they're disappointed. Oh, mom and dad said they'd had all this. But that opening and closing, you need to make sure you have that. And you can pre-plan that. Your memorial markers, that's another thing. You can pre-plan that memorial marker. So you can do each and every step that will ensure when your family passes on, everything has been taken care of. And remember, that's through, you can come in and ask for information. I want to see what mom and dad has purchased. And I always tell people it's time for you to purchase. I've been working with families over the years, and that when the loved one passed away, I often hear the family say, you know what, we should have done this. We should have done this years ago. And I often tell them, have you done it? And they'll go, no. I go, well, this is your opportunity. So you want to make sure that you seize on the opportunity. It is so heartfelt. And it's so wonderful when a funeral director has a family that comes in and those children are there, and that funeral director looks at them in the eyes and they say, wow, mom and dad did everything. They did absolutely everything. All we need to do is get you a date and a time. You can see the relief coming from off their face. That is so important. People say, well, Bertha, when do you normally plan? I tell people I normally start planning with families at the age of 50. Because at the age of 50, a couple things has probably happened. You may have experienced your parents or your grandparents, so you understand the value of traditional things that needs to be done. So we want to make sure that you understand that cemetery is just as important, or sometimes more important, because family members like to be with family members. And I tell them all the time, if that is the case, then let's go ahead on and plan that plot. We have areas where we can do mausoleum, and that is above ground community mausoleum. We can do private estates. Some families want their own private estates. We can do what's called a lawn crypt, which is top and bottom. That's what they do at the National. We can do side by sides. We have so many different options. And so many times people, they just don't understand the options. The good thing about it, you can put it on 5 years, sometimes 0% interest with a small down payment, and pay monthly payments. Very, very affordable. So I come here today is just to put it on your mind to say, you know what, I'm going to call Laura Land and I'm going to ask for Bertha, and I want that tour. And when you get that tour, I do have a personal planning guide that I want to offer each and every one of you. And that will give you an opportunity to start writing those pertinent, detailed information down, so that when death occurs, you're sitting with that funeral director, you're not trying to rush and scramble and trying to dig through drawers to find different things. Everything is already covered. So make sure, whether it's traditional again or cremation, we have everything you need here to take care of whatever you need to do. And I always tell people, because sometimes they say, people will tell me, oh, Bertha, I don't want to pre-plan because I don't want to die. But you know what? We're going to pass on whether we pre-plan or not. And when you pre-plan, it doesn't take any more days off your life. Each day we wake up, we're getting that much closer to death. So just consider it and just come in and get that information about pre-planning. We also have something that's called the travel protection plan that I really want to stress. And that is something that when you plan and you go on a trip or something, then we have the opportunity to get you back in this area. So we have so many things that people don't even realize that I would love to be able to educate you and your family on. So again, the thing is just come and get the information about Laura Land Memorial Park. We have so much to offer. We have so many different options, and it's so much better to get the information when you're not in the crisis. That is so important, because at that point, when you're not under the crisis of trying to plan within 48 hours, you can really look and you can be relaxed and you can really make good decisions. And you can make decisions with your head and not your heart. Because when you pass on, a lot of times families make decisions with their heart, and it may not be exactly what they wanted. So pre-planning, getting information, getting that tour It's just what we do here at Lauraland. So again, I am here. We have a whole team that is behind you, and we can help you and walk you through the process and give you all the information that you need. And remember, my name is Bertha, and let me plan your cemetery property with dignity.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that great information and your quote of the day. It is so much better to get the information when you're not in a crisis. Yes, you are absolutely right on that one. Now I did, since we just got a minute or so here, I'm going to ask you, you was a question that came up for Lauraland. What is the price range for a burial plot and planning an entire service?
So we have different price points. Price points start at about $26.95 and they can go up. So it's very affordable. And again, 5 years, pay it out, 0% interest.
Wow. 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 That is really good. $26.95 over 5 years and a 0% interest. Oh, I have to come talk to y'all. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and leave y'all. Because right now, what we are getting ready to do is to bring everybody back up. We are going to have a Q&A. So everyone that is watching, please go ahead and type your questions into the chat so that you can ask any questions of these amazing speakers, again, that are the experts. I just want to give you a little reminder here that Friendship West does have a legacy toolkit. Now, I do have a question here I'm going to post as well. This is from one of our panelists. If someone has a policy on you, do they have to use it for your funeral? Meaning, and I want to clarify that, this is what I hear being stated, is that let's say I have a policy on my child and he passes away. Am I required to use that? Or could I go take a trip to Fiji and say, y'all figure it out?
You can do whatever you want to do with it.
Wow. I can go take the trip to Fiji and say, y'all figure it out. And that goes back to, I believe it was Attorney Barber that said, when you have a child with special needs, you do not necessarily, you can leave the policy to somebody, but they don't have to take care of your child. So I guess I'm going to segue into the next question. If I have left a policy for specific use, what do I need to do to make it sure that it is used for that?
So one of the things that you should do is to sit down with an estate planning and probate attorney to ensure that that life insurance policy is designated into a trust. And so if you have a trust set up, then there are certain parameters or rules that have to be followed to ensure that there's a trustee that's over those funds that would administer the funds for the care, need, and maintenance of the individual that is to have the benefit of the funds. And then there are just different requirements that are supposed to be followed according to state law. So don't have a life insurance policy and just leave that money outright to a sibling or to a spouse with the expectation that they're going to do what you want. Because one thing that I've learned in my business is that grief has a way of changing other people's plans. And you've worked too hard to leave your legacy and your desires to chance.
Wow. All right. So now, are there any other questions? And I have to go back through this. And I'm going to go ahead and post this one. Miss Clayton has said her family member has a fake will. And apparently someone signed her father's name, even though there was a trust. How do we prevent situations like that from occurring?
Well, without knowing the specifics for this particular issue and whether the will was actually probated, I will say that if there's a trust, then that will likely not have a lot of bearing on the trust and the directives that have been left in that trust, as long as the trust was validly formed and executed. So Ms. Clayton, please feel free to reach out to my office. This could be a situation where trust litigation may be necessary, but there may be a way to avoid a lot of the confusion that you are expecting. And I will say, with a question such as this, it happens all the time where there are fake wills where someone passes away and a loved one will go online and create a will and they will draft a signature, which is why I'm saying make sure you reach out to an estate planning attorney. As my clients, when I draft their wills, I print their wills on certain paper that has a watermark. It has a year of which that paper was created. I have safeguards in place. So if someone tries to pull an okie doke, I can ensure that it's not going to happen on my watch. And so you'd be surprised how common this is, because someone passes away and people realize, oh, wait, there's a house, there's a car, there's land, and we don't know who this is supposed to go to. So the easiest way to avoid that heartache and stress and expense and confusion is to reach out to an estate planning attorney.
All right. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to go. We've got questions coming in now. Ms. Bayless, can we have the information on the attorney again, please? She did just state that. Give me just a second. I'm going to run her banner again. So Ms. Bayless, there is Attorney Barber's information, her office number, her email, inquiry@barberlaw.com. Her name is Alexia Barber. Her number is 214-498-5960. And again, here's what I'm going to ask everyone to do. Please share this video on whichever social media platform you are on. Share it. You can replay it and you can get all of this information again right there at your fingertips, easy for you. When you replay it, these banners will all run again as well. So there is Attorney Barber's information. So now the next question, Ms. Peach says, regarding setting up a trust, does it supersede a will?
So that's an excellent question. So a trust is one of the tools that you can use for estate planning to avoid the probate process. But there are some caveats to that. You have to make sure that all of your assets are in that trust. If you have any assets that you have not put in the trust, you need to have a will. Any client that I have that sets up a trust, I set up a will, and it's considered a pour over will, which simply says I have a trust, but in the event that there are things that are outside of the assets that I have, maybe you bought another house or you bought another car, you have a rental property that you forgot to add to your trust, you make sure that you have that pour over will as a catch-all so that all of your assets go to the individuals that you want. Now, one thing I will tell you about trust versus wills, when you have a will and it is probated, it is a part of a public record, and it is going to be on that county's website where someone could access your will and conceivably see what items you have and to who you're leaving it to. That's not common knowledge, so it's not something that a lot of people are aware of, but that's why you see a lot of families setting up trusts, because it gives you the privacy. That trust is never shared with the public. It's not something that's probated. And so you can have these assets and ensure that your privacy remains intact.
Thank you. Next question. They had some great discount prices during the pandemic. Do they still have discount prices at this time for pre-needs? And that should probably be Laurel Land and Miss Vicki.
Yes. A lot of the independently owned funeral homes are still offering their discounted packages. Don't know how long that's going to last, but currently the discounted packages that were created during the pandemic are still in existence now. But we can't guarantee when the owners will go in and change their pricing. Fuel and all these things have gone up. And of course, when the funeral home is using their vehicles and things like that, again, it goes back to everything increases. That's including funerals.
And as far as Laurel Land, yes, we do have pre-need packages with discount and the cemetery as well.
Great. And so you can reach out to Laurel Land and Miss Vicki for that information, and I recommend doing it now, because y'all gonna be hearing from me. Now, Miss Miller wants to know, is estate planning and a will necessary if I have only one adult child?
Absolutely, Ms. Miller. You want to ensure that you have an estate plan in place because you, again, and I will say there are a lot of misconceptions regarding estate planning. People will assume that they don't need to have it because you don't know how you're going to pass away. You don't know what assets that you will have. And if you pass away without a will, and there needs to be a probate process for your loved ones to get access to your bank accounts, for them to be able to update your vehicle registration, for them to be able to transfer ownership of land or a home into their name. If you do not have a will set up, the cost increase drastically. There are different applications that are filed with the courts. One of them can easily run over $10,000 between attorney fees, court costs, and what's called an attorney ad litem that has to be appointed by law. And so there are greater expenses if you do not have a will.
And we don't want to see our family and children arguing and falling out over this. To me, we as the leaders of families, we should want to leave a legacy of peace, love, and hope for our descendants. And this is a key way to do that. Make sure you have a will, a trust in place. And let's be clear, if you have children, you need to have these things in place. If you don't want your child to go to that particular family member, then you have to put it in writing. So let's address a few myths. If I don't have anything, do I need a will?
Yes, absolutely. Again, as previously stated, you don't know how you'll pass away. And I always say this because if you have a blended family, such as a stepfather, or if you have some siblings that you may not have a relationship, if mama or papa was a Rolling Stone and you have these half siblings that you've never had relationships with, and you pass away, a portion of your estate can go to this individual that you've never had a relationship with. I currently have a case in Denton County. There were 9 siblings. Some of them had passed away. And when your sibling has passed away, their children stand in that place. By the time we got finished for the distribution of all of the assets of this estate, which it wasn't a lot, it's a house, it's a car, it's a little bit of money in a bank account. There were 25 heirs. 25 heirs. Some of them did not have a relationship with the woman that passed away. And I believe if she had had the opportunity to create an estate plan before she passed away unexpectedly in her 40s, she would have ensured that it would have gone to the handful of loved ones that she had a relationship with and that had played a significant impact in her life.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, I'm sitting here. I've got it written, but I just haven't gotten it filed. I need to touch it up. I'm getting mine done.
And Dr. Grayson, you would be surprised how many attorneys, how many doctors, how many funeral directors don't have their estate plan in place because it's, oh, I'll get to it later. Oh, it's on my to-do list. Right. But no man knows the day. And you work too hard to just take this by chance.
Preach.
Yeah, she hit home on that one. Ooh, I'm going to work on that and get that. And like I said, I've done a lot of work. And see, for my situation, I had paid an attorney to do it. And she gave me great discounts. But she passed away. And she passed it to another attorney.
It happens.
Okay, so I'm back really on my own. But she got me started well. And so I believe that may be all of the questions. Someone got a compliment here. It was might have been Laura Land. You helped out Sister Crawford Rivers. She says thank you for helping her and her son, or it might be Ms. Vicky. So if there are no more questions, we want to thank you all. Thank you all so much. I got a last question. What do you do if someone gives your property away after you pass away?
Well, if someone gives your property away after you pass away, you need to hire a probate attorney to begin a probate litigation process. And this is something that I'm really glad I have an opportunity to touch upon because it happens with families all the time. When a loved one passes away, you cannot just go into the house and start giving away their clothing, their shoes, their furniture, their TVs, their cars. And we do it. but those
Mhm.
assets are a part of their estate, and it is against state law to distribute those assets outside of the probate process. Unless that person had a trust and the trustee is distributing those assets in accordance to the terms of the trust, you are violating state law. And so if this is happening to you, I strongly encourage you to reach out to an attorney that has experience in probate litigation.
Wow. Did not know that. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure there are no other questions. So again, now we're officially wrapping it up. Thank you all for coming in on your Saturday and helping give this great information. Again, anyone that's watching, please share. Please refer back to this video. Please use the resources in this video. Contact the individuals that have said that they are here to help you in this video. And then make sure that we get our affairs in order. Here in South Dallas, by not having your affairs in order, you're permitting gentrification. We're permitting the absconding, the taking, the wrongful taking of our legacy, our resources, our homes, our property. So please, please get this together and handle this. So I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Fitzgerald. He's going to go ahead and close us out. Again, thank you, everyone.
To God be the glory for the great things we have heard and even have done. I want to thank each and every one of you for all that you've done and shared in this wonderful event. We know that Funeral Home Saturday is National Negro Burying Day. So you'll notice that a lot of the funeral homes could not be on for the sake of business. Thank you, Lorland. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the team, for what you've done to the cemetery and all the information that we received. Listen, I want, before we close out, and Dr. Grayson, you are a life sent servant leader, and we thank God for you, and Vicki, Patrick, Noop, we thank you, all of that. And here I go calling names. But I want to thank, of course, Una Howard for our servant leadership and all that she does for the bereavement community. And because of her servant leadership, she did not ask for this. Matter of fact, she didn't want it. But we want to still give her an award as the Harriet Tubman, and we named this Untiring Service. During the COVID pandemic, we continue to, people continue to pass away, and you never stop working. So we changed the title to the Harriet Tubman Outstanding Initiative Service Award, but we added the word Untiring Service, and that we appreciate. We're going to give it to you anyway, whether you liked it or enjoyed it or not, or want it or not. And also the biggest award that we share, called the Willie Wilson, Deacon Willie Wilson Service Award. This year's winner will be given to Billy Henderson. She's been with the bereavement ministry from its inception, and she's been with us for several years. And so Sister Billy Henderson, you are the recipient of the Deacon Willie Wilson Service Award. So thank you, family. Thank you for all that you've done. Remember the Legacy Toolkit. It's available online, and also the Last Wish book will be available Monday through Thursday from 10 to 4 at the church. We'll have them there. You can swing by and pick some up, and make sure that your family, persons in your family, each get one of these books so you can work it out. Y'all don't know how many times I have to work with families who don't have their house in order. And even this week, we're trying to help, and I call on Vicki all the time. She is my go-to person in terms of helping people who don't have their things in order, and getting their wills in order and all of that. So God bless you, Sister Vicki. Thank you for your work. All that you're doing, Patrick, all of them. We started naming names. And so I just want to close out on a word of prayer as we finish this day. God bless you. God keep you is our prayer. Lord, we thank you, and we bless you afresh for all of the information that we receive. We thank you for our leadership of Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III, the Friendship West family, the bereavement community, and all who serve in this untiring community. God, we thank you for Dr. Grayson, for how she comes together and puts things together for us. Thank you, Lord Una, for allowing all these pieces to come together to make one beautiful picture. God, we adore you, we thank you, and we ask now that we would handle our business, for we feel, Lord, it is a sin not to take care of our going home practices as we live it out on this side of earth. We love you and we thank you. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Bless our week. In Jesus' name, amen. Peace and God bless.